How's it going, YouTube? Jimmy here again. So whenever we last left off, let's see, what did we do? I think we did the side skirt and this back quarter panel and this pillar up here. So, right. Let's go ahead and start working on the door. And we'll do the front door and the rear door. Then once we do that, we'll just mirror everything across to the other side. So let's go and get started right. Just jump right on in there. You know, because why not? Before we do that, actually, let's go ahead and add an edge loop. Add an edge loop right, come on, right about there. So this way this has a nice, yeah, it's got a nice curve right there. The rest of this should be pretty solid. Should be. Hopefully it is. Don't know if it will be or not, but hopefully. Yeah, it looks pretty good. So, yeah, we're going to roll with it. Go ahead and delete this side real quick, and we'll go ahead and Control G, Control Shift D, and just mirror that across. So now that should be the same as this side. Okay, so door. Let's do this. First thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to press 1 on the side skirt, the fender, and the pillar. And the reason for this is because we'll be able to match everything up a lot better, and it'll be a lot easier. And this way we don't run into any kind of continuity errors or anything like that. So, yeah, let's go ahead and just create a plane. And let's go ahead and rotate this plane. We're going to rotate it -90. And we'll just move it into position. You can start up here, you can start back here, you can start down here. Usually I'll start up here just because I want to. Yeah, really no other reason besides that. So, the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to take this bottom part and we're going to want to line it up to this vertex over here, vertex edge, whatever you want to call it. Let's see, let me go and zoom in here. Move this up just a little bit. Okay, there we go. And then this one, going to make sure, oh, that one's lined up beautifully. Okay, so I'm going to line this edge up here so this way I can just grab these points. I'm just going to move them back right about there. It should be all right. Okay, so let's go into edge, and let's go ahead and start extruding this. So we're going to extrude that right there. Extrude that one to right about there. And all I did was press G and then W on the keyboard real quick. So I'm just going to extrude these to the edges and everything. Now right here we have this line that comes down the center. If I remember correctly, that's actually just a molding that goes over it. So yeah, it's just, I think that's a mold. No, that's an actual curve that follows everything. Okay. Alright, so you can do this one of two ways. If you don't want to follow along, you can actually create a trim like this one has that will cover that. Or you can create the actual mold. I'm actually going to do it both ways. So this way, you know, you can kind of follow me if you want. If not, I'll show you how to do this. If you want to do the trim, do not do this next step. This step will be where I press G and extrude it down just a little bit. Then I'm going to press G again. Now, if you're wanting to do the trim, go ahead and start following me now. Just extrude this edge initially and move it down to about here. So for mine, never mind, forget that. Okay, so now go and continue on following me. So go ahead and we're going to extrude this again. We're just going to move it down to about here. Now this one's going to be a little tricky because you're not going to be able to match these up perfectly. So I'm actually going to move this probably right about here or so. Go ahead and just go into vertex real quick. I'm going to pull these down about like that. Pull them up just a little bit. There we go. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take all of these edges right here, and we're going to press G, or we're just going to extrude them again, but you know, I'm pressing G, and I'm going to match them up to all these points down here. So that's all I'm doing. And then we will go into vertex. Yeah, because these actually move up a little bit, so I'm just going to move this one back. Move this one up just a hair, not too much. That was too much. That's down too much. There we go. And I'm actually going to grab these two. This way I can try to keep all these uniform. And I'm just going to move this one up. Probably right about there, I'm thinking. Biggest thing is that they line up. And they don't have to be exact, but you are going to want them close. So now I'm just going to move these into place. And move this one down. Move that one up. Oh, that one's already good. Okay, there we go. So now we got all these lined up about where we want them. Now this edge right here, this is actually getting way too tight in here. So we're actually going to have to grab these vertices right here. And we're going to have to pull these back just a little bit, right about there. Then this one right here, we're actually going to pull this one back, probably right about like that. Then we got these right here. I'm actually going to, well, I don't want to pull those down, but I do want to deselect those, like so. I actually want to pull these down right about there. So this way this has even continuity in it. And because we moved that one, we will have to come in here and we'll have to delete this one, and we'll just Control C, Control Shift D. And then for the door right here, we'll go ahead and start moving all this over into place. So I'm actually going to move it in vertex mode. You can do it in face mode, edge mode, whichever mode you want to do, as long as you're not moving it in object mode. Because if you move it in object mode, the pivot stays with where it's at. Whereas if you move it in vertex mode or face or whatever, you can move it over here, but then when you go back into object mode, as you can see, it's still zeroed out here. And the advantage of this is whenever you duplicate it, you don't have to create a group for it. You can just hit Control Shift D. Nope, because the orientation's off. Okay, so never mind. Sometimes the orientation is dead on where you want it, and therefore you don't run into that problem. This, however, is not one of those times. So, yeah, things happen. No biggie. And by the way, for those of you who do not know, no biggie is something you can say to someone whenever you mess up or something, you know, man, I'm sorry about that, and you can just be like, yeah, it's no biggie. Definitely not something you want to say to someone with erectile dysfunction. Hey, it's no biggie. Okay, so anyways, just going to move this right about here, and all I'm doing right now is just trying to line this up with the curve right here of the fender. Now, earlier, I told you if you're not going to do this, to just move this down. You'll still want to click on this edge, and you'll still want to move it in because you're trying to match it up. So that is something we'll have to keep in mind. But after I move this into place, I'm going to show you how to create the trim for it. So I'm getting ready to show you that here real soon. So say you did not create this little piece, but you want the trim on it. All you would do is basically create a plane right over here. I'm going to go ahead and move this out real quick. So you create a plane like this that would come out to about here. And then you just click on edge. And you don't want the back one selected, but you do want these three selected. And all you would do would just be move it in like that where it goes past the door. And then you'll click these three. We go into X-ray. You click on these three, and then all you would do would just be extrude like this. And you know, as you're getting to the rear, just kind of like widen it out a little bit, and then just keep going. And once you get here, just kind of like move it into position, something kind of like that. So that's how you do that. One thing to keep in mind, because this is a four-door, when this back door opens, it will cut into this. So the way to avoid that is just simply move this forward like that. And then whenever you do the back door, you'd have the other side where that just kind of like overlaps a little bit. So that's how you do that. And then when you hit smooth on it, get out of this view. When you hit smooth on it, that's what you would have, is something like that. And of course, you'd want to grab the vertices up here and just kind of manipulate them forward, like so. Probably something like that. Let's go ahead and do an edge loop on this real quick. Continue following me. Unless you don't want the trim, then you don't have to. But other than that, if you are doing the trim, definitely keep following me on this. So we're going to deselect those down there, and we'll select these up here. We'll just move those up just a little bit. We'll move these back just a little bit. We'll grab all of these and move it all up. There you go. And that's how you do the trim, is something like that. And then to match this up here, you'd basically end up doing the same thing. Now, I'm not going to have the trim on it. I'm actually going to do away with it. But I will also do the back piece, so I'm just going to hide this trim for now. Let me go ahead and name this layer, so this way I don't lose it. And I'm going to go ahead and save it. Okay, there we go. So the trim is now gone. Yay. Alright, so is what I want to do now. As you can see, we actually have 2 edges right here and 2 edges right here. So I actually need to add the second edge down here. To do so, I'll turn on this lovely shader. I'm just going to move that down right about here. And I'm using the edge loop tool, by the way. So then I'm going to select this edge. I'm going to try and match it up with this right about here. I'm going to do the same thing right here. So I'm going to select these two. I'm just going to pull them out just a little bit. Alright, there we go. So now we should have this shape. Let me go and turn off wireframe. We should have this shape. Let me go ahead and press 3 on this too. So as you can see now, that looks a lot better. That is actually looking really good. So the next thing we're going to want to do, I would start actually working on, well no, I can go ahead and start doing that. So I'm just going to double click on one of these outside edges, this way it selects everything. And I'm going to extrude this. Let me see. Okay, so this actually comes down, so I'm actually going to want to use my handle tool. So I'm just going to move this down just a little bit. I'm going to press G and do that one more time. Something kind of like that. And so now, when I press 3 on both of these objects, you can see that it forms a lot smoother and everything. We have this nice crisp edge. So the last thing we want to do is we're going to use the edge loop tool, and we're going to keep these edges by simply adding an edge loop up here and back here. We may have to do one across the top, but let's see what this looks like first before I make that decision. No, I think that looks pretty good, because even whenever I do this one, that actually lines up really well. It doesn't line up real well down here. Let me see. Okay, that's why it doesn't line up down here. So we have a few continuity errors. Let's go ahead and just see if we can fix those real quick. The first one's going to be down here. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab these vertices. I'm actually just going to grab all these bottom vertices. I'm just going to move them up just a little bit. And these back ones actually need to come back just a little bit more. We'll go ahead and line all this up real quick. Zoom in. So I'm actually going to want these right about here. Do the same thing here. I'm just going to line all these up with the back part of the door right here. So that's all this is. Very, very simple. Very simple. That actually kind of reminded me of Ren and Snippy there for a second. Oh, wait, has anyone ever watched that show, Ren and Snippy? It's like an old show back in the 90s. If you're a 90s kid, you know what I'm talking about. I used to watch that one in Rocko's Modern Life. Epic shows. Totally epic shows. Alright, so now we got the door. Let's go and see what we got real quick. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go in here. We're going to grab this vertice. We're going to pull it back just a little bit. And we're going to pull it down just a little bit. Something kind of like that. Then we'll grab this one right here, and we're going to do the same thing and just pull it forward. Then we'll come in here. We're going to grab these. We're just going to manipulate these just a little bit, not too much. Zoom in. Actually, we want to pull these forward. We're going to come down here, and we're going to pull these forward. Oops, I need to grab all of these. Pull them forward. Something kind of like... So I'm going to pull them forward something kind of like this. I don't know how well this is going to work, but we'll see. There we go. Okay, so when you come in here, I'm going to grab this edge, pull this in just a little bit. Alright, so let's come in here and press 1. Now we need to make sure everything lines up. I think it... Nope, doesn't quite line up just yet. So we need to move this one in just a hair. And of course Maya's going to do this to me. So I'm actually going to line up right... Oh, actually that lines up rather nicely. I'm happy with that. I'm going to grab this edge. I'm just going to pull this in. I'm going to pull it up if I can, and I cannot. Yeah. Fun with Maya. It's like I'm zoomed in as much as I can, it's still jumping up and down. So in times like this, I'm just going to go to Insert, and I'm just going to move this way up here, so this way I can like not fight with it. And you don't have to get as close as what I am. I just like it to try and be as close as possible. This way it looks just a little bit better. By all means, you do not have to do this. I'm just choosing to do it because, you know, why not? I think the rest of these I can live with. Yeah, I think the rest of the... Well, maybe not this one. There we go. So like this one right here, I don't want to live with that. So I'm just going to deselect that and move this one in right about there. Okay, so now, in theory, I should have this... Yeah, so now that I can live with. That is something I can live with. And I'm going to live with it. So, okay. Let me go ahead and save it real quick. Now, I know some of you are like, but dude, you never finished the door. You only did this bottom part. What about all this? I understand that. This trim is just that. It is trim. Whoa, really? You don't say. Yeah, I know, right? Kind of shocking. So the way I normally do trim is I actually create that as a separate piece, and then I end up binding it. And the reason why I do this is because sometimes this piece around here is actually chrome, sometimes it's black. A lot of times I'll actually create all this trim right here that goes down the side and then goes around. I'll create all that as one solid piece. And I say one solid piece, you'll see what I'm talking about here in a minute. But this way, all I have to do is just attach it to the top part of the door, and you can never even tell. So the first thing I want to do is see what color this piece is and what side this side panel is. I know on Chryslers it's black, but I don't know about Hondas. And so it looks like Hondas are all black as well. So yeah, this is all black trim. Let me go and see if I can locate a good image. Man, there we go again with the 400 pixels. There's another one. Yeah, you know, I mean... See, things like this sometimes, it just drives me crazy. It's like, come on, people. We live in a high-definition era, and you're taking a vehicle that was, you know, built in 2008. And I'm sure some of these vehicles are used, but, you know, I mean, I don't know, you just think that they would, like, upload higher-res images. And I could just go up here and, you know, go into tools or settings or wherever it's at and just, you know, say, hey, this is the size I want, but screw it. Too much work. Okay, so what we're going to do. I'm just going to create a plane. By the way, something I forgot to mention, some of y'all, I'm like, if you're new to this channel, I'm sure some of y'all are like, hey, how come you're able to click and do that? Because I remember whenever I first installed this program, the only thing I could do was click like that and hope that the orientation was right. I want to say under Create, if you do go down here to Polygon Primitives, and you scroll down, there's Interactive Creation and Exit on Completion. And see, I don't remember if it would just click or if I could actually click and drag. That one I cannot remember, so either way, if you all run into that problem, you're wondering how I'm doing that so quick, yeah, just go down there. See, so we're creating this object right here. One thing to keep in mind, as you can see, I'm actually going below the surface. I do want to do that, but I'm going to do it right here between these two edges. And the only reason for this is whenever I come in here later on and you know, actually bind this to the door, it's just going to look so much better. I promise you it will look a lot better. So we're just going to move this over here for now. Let's go into vertex real quick. Just going to Probably right about there, I'm thinking. Now, this piece right here, this is going to be the interesting piece. We're actually going to do that here in just a second. For now, let me go ahead and just finish up on this. The nice thing about this is we don't actually have to change the width of it or anything like that. We can just keep the same continuity going all the way down to the back part of the door. And I'm actually going to create it right here. There we go. So, we need to make sure we're lined up over here as well. I'm just going to grab both of these vertices. Just going to pull them forward. There we go. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to come in here into the edge loop tool. I'm going to create an edge loop right about here. I'm going to create another one right about here. And then I'm going to make sure both of these edges are selected. And all I'm going to do is take them, I'm going to pull them out like this. And I'm going to pull them up just a little bit. I actually need to pull them out just a little bit more. Probably something like that. Now I'm going to select the whole edge loop, or the whole outer edge. I'm going to extrude that. Oh, you bastard. Okay, so let me go ahead and press the extrude button. That obviously did not work out too well. Then I'm going to want to scale it down just a little bit. And I'm going to extrude it again. Scale it down. Why are we getting this weird scaling? Oh, because it's rotated. Okay. Okay. So let me just, there we go. Doesn't have to be exact, just has to be close. So this way when we smooth it out, we have this nice uniform shape. Alright, so the next thing, you guessed it, edge loops on the front and back. Probably right about there. We'll do one right about there. There we go. Now we're going to see how this looks first. Sometimes you might run into this problem where whenever you attach this, it will attach it right about there. There we go. So actually I want to move this in just a little bit more. Let me just grab all these vertices up here. See, I don't want those. I want to make sure those are grabbed. I'm not grabbing this line down here because I actually want the top part to have a smooth curve on it. So I'm actually going to grab that there, and I'm actually going to rotate it. That is not working out as well as I was hoping it would. So, okay, screw you. We'll just... Do we want to bend it down? No, we do not want to bend it down. It's okay to bend it in, but we can't bend it down. So we'll just take that. We'll move it right there. Then we'll click on this edge right here. We'll just bring it up. We'll bring it forward. And we should have... There we go. That's more of what I'm looking for. Yeah, that's nice and smooth. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to create, we'll do this trim and this glass right here. We'll do that next, but right now let's go ahead and start working on this panel up here. Some vehicles are different on these. I'm thinking this is actually one solid piece. However, I could be wrong about that. Two ways we can do this. A, we can take this one, duplicate it up here, and then just start extruding this edge. I ain't feeling that. I'm really not feeling that. Like, you have no idea how much I am not feeling that. No. Instead, we're actually going to start right here. So, I'm just going to do something like that. It doesn't matter. Just going to click right here, and we'll take these vertices, move them over. Now, for this... I probably should have mentioned this earlier. For this, we're actually going to bring this down quite a bit, because we are going to want this to actually intersect with this, but we're going to want to make it look like it's actually sitting behind it. So, yeah. Anyways, pooper Snickers. What's a pooper Snicker? I do not know. Alright, let's start extruding. So, I'm going to extrude this right about here. I'm going to extrude one more time. So it should be 3 faces. I don't know, I'm having a hard time counting today. See, I'm going to move this right about here. I'm actually needing to move this one back so this way it's more smooth. So, yeah, 3 faces. Yay. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to grab this edge, and we're going to extrude up to about here. Let's go ahead and flatten this down. And then we're going to come in here. We're just going to move this out just a little bit. You know, something kind of like that. And then we're going to extrude it up again. We're going to go 1, 2, and right here on 3, we're going to come up to about here. But also, we're going to fold it in probably right about like that. And let's go ahead and fold it in just a little bit more. And then we can click on this edge, we can bring this in and have this come up just a little bit, something kind of like that. And let me frame in on that. We can actually go ahead and bring this one up, have it come out kind of like that. So we can click on this edge, and let's just have it come in something like this. And because this is actually going to be a smooth edge, so yeah, we'll just do it like this, and we'll work with that. So we can click on this edge right here, come down here. See, I forgot. Yeah, almost got myself there. So we want these front faces selected, and this way we can just follow this. That's what we were doing to begin with. That's the part I almost screwed up on, which it wouldn't be the first thing I screwed up on. So, okay, let's go ahead and extrude these. We're going to extrude these here, and we're going to definitely want to follow this curve. So if this edge is coming this way, we're going to want that to match. And let's just move this up a little bit. Take a look at right here. So something like that. Let's go ahead and move them forward again. Yeah, sometimes I forget this, but like right there, I just press G and then I quickly press W immediately after. This way I can continue extruding. That's all I'm doing. Now this part down here is going to be a little tricky, but we'll get it. We will get it. We'll get it like a pedophile in a minivan. Oh, that was wrong. I apologize for that. Okay, so the way we're going to do this, I'll just show you. It's so much easier than explaining. I'm actually going to fold it like this. And I'm going to go into my scale tool. I'm going to actually widen this out just a little bit. I'm going to have it come down right about here. I'm going to flatten this down. No, I don't want to scale that in. So now we have 3 right here. So the window's actually going to follow this. So it's actually going to come right about here. So this will be 1, 2, and 3. So that's the way I'm going to do this. So we have 1, 2, and then we have 3 right here. And this is going to intersect in here as well. So then what we'll do is we'll grab this, and we're going to, oh come on Maya, we're just going to move this over like so. So we want that to intersect right here, and then that can go away for now. And this part right here, we actually want this to be fairly flat. So what we're going to do is we're going to select these vertices. We're going to flatten them out just a little bit. Select these, flatten these out a little bit, and that should be fine. So I'm going to move these right about here. Alright, so the next thing we'll do is grab all of these. Well, we don't want to grab these yet, but we want to grab all these up here. We want to start moving these into place. Now, if you notice, this is cutting into it. That's actually what we want. We want it to cut in right about here. We're going to do the same thing. We're just having it cut halfway. So that cuts halfway. Go up here. That cuts about halfway. It doesn't have to be exactly half. I mean, as you can tell, I'm not like taking any measurement tools or anything. I'm just kind of like, yeah, that's close enough. That's really it. I'll come back over here. I'll just kind of move that in, guess what, about halfway. So now we have this. Now you could have a gap here. That's totally optional. I'm not. The only reason why, because gaps really don't exist on these things. I don't know why they don't, but they don't. It's almost magical. Let's see. Okay, we'll manipulate that a little bit more later on. This part right here. So all I'm doing is I'm just trying to line everything up like so. There we go. That should be close enough. So let's go ahead and go into object mode. We're going to select all three of these and press 3 and see what we get. And we're also going to need that up here too. So that's actually, it's actually pretty close. And we lost our gap down here. Have no fear. So all I'm going to do is grab the vertices here on the bottom. I don't want that one. I'm just going to grab the vertices on the bottom. I'm actually going to pull these down just a little bit, enough where the gap disappears. So let me go back up in here. There's the gap. Bye-bye gap. Alright, I wonder if that gap was like, oh, I don't feel so good. Alright, so what we want to do is we're actually going to want to add an edge loop right here. But we got to be careful, because if we add an edge loop, yeah, see, that's soft right there. That actually has a smooth curve to it. But this one, if we add an edge loop, then it's going to be kind of violent. So I think that's what I'm going to do. Is I'm going to create one right about here. I'm going to have to start going up right about here. That come up to right about here. And then right here is where it will be about 1.2%. We're going to do the same thing about 1.2, and we're going to press enter. So now we have that sharp curve. And this is still smooth. Booyah! Alright. Oh man, Maya's starting to mess up. Yeah, see, I just clicked on the door, but nothing's happening, so it's not until I move the camera. Joy. Let me go ahead and save it real quick. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do, we actually need to add the edge loop in right here. So we're going to do that. We're going to do that right now. Just pull the edge loop up right here. There we go. Still have a slightly sharp edge, on like a smooth edge. I really don't want that. I really don't want that. So I'm just going to add that right there. Normally I wouldn't do this, but see how it looks. I don't see the edge loop, so that's good. So that's what I'm looking for. Okay, let me go ahead and I'm going to select all of these. I'm going to go ahead and save this scene. And in the next tutorial, we're going to create the windows in the back door. I'm just afraid of Maya thoroughly messing up like it did on the... I think it was a Chevy S10 I was doing that. It really started messing up hardcore. It was either the Chevy S10 or it was one of the guns. I can't remember which one I did. So let me go ahead and save it real quick. And to save it real quick, it's just Control-S. But I shall see y'all in the next tutorial.